2 weeks ago, in an amusingly ironic moment, Jeff Bezos and company deleted all copies of both 1984 and Animal Farm from Citizens' Kindles after the rights holder complained the titles had been sold without its permission. Michigan High School senior Justin D. Goronsky has a Chicago law firm handling the suit. Does anyone think this has legs?
This kind of cracks me up because he has a Chicago law firm. He's taking this really seriously. His argument is basically the dog ate my homework. I mean, that's his problem.
But Jeff Bezos ate my homework, absolutely, and he's absolutely right.
You're implying that this kid didn't have any notes, and this is probably a part of it.
Didn't have any notes.
It was probably as a high school.
No, the notes did not get deleted, but the notes were.
Well, it says here.
Now here's what actually happened. The notes continue, but he would.
Is this a sketchy register story?
No, he would circle a certain paragraph or something and say, watch this paragraph. Okay, so now he still has a note that says, mention this paragraph in your paper, but the paragraph is gone, so it's a useless annotation. But I want to say that the bigger issue here is that in the early 90s, all of the lawyers for all of the big software companies came out with these, click wrap, these shrink wrap licenses and these types of things that said you don't own this content, this software, whatever it is, you license it. And this is what's coming back to bite us now because you buy this thing, you have it, it should be yours. And Amazon has the legal right. I mean, Jeff Bezos may say that he's not going to do this again, but Amazon continues to have the right to delete stuff from your Kindle anytime it wants to.
I don't have a Kindle.
Well, I don't think anyone really does.
It's probably a good thing, and until they clarify that they will never do this again, that they don't have the legal right to do it.
No, well, they do have the.
You cannot be sure that it won't happen.
Don't
again.
you think that the whole licensing scene should be rethought?
Yes, it's a total scam.
It's a total scam. I agree.
It's a scam that's in
this.
favor of the large companies and completely screws the consumers.
I agree.
Yeah.
Got no argument here. What about you?
This guy's being totally silent over here.
No, I'm actually more pissed off than you are.
You are?
Yeah, I mean, because it's fairly offensive to me, actually, because, we took the original, 1923, and before we're like, okay, that can be public domain, but everything after that is covered until those people die and all their heirs die, and the world becomes a cinder after the sun explodes. And it's pretty freaking ridiculous, actually.
You're talking about public domain law.
And I think that we should actually roll back to the original copyright law, which was, I guess, 14 years, 17 years, something like that.
Something, well, maybe.
But
I think it was something then renewable.
Because I think
it was renewable.
Yeah. So, but no,
it's not 75.
I'm not in favor
now
of
it's
it being
75
renewable.
years.
I'm actually not in favor of it being renewable. I mean, let's roll back to when we started the country. And, yeah.
Right now it's 75 years, basically. Essentially, nothing's in the public.
It's 75 years after the death of the original creator.
Yeah, but for written works, they basically cut it off at 75 years of copyright date. I mean, essentially.
I mean,
it's for art. They tend to go with the death of the guy. That's why Picasso's stuff is not public domain.
Right, and this is why, I mean, basically Mickey Mouse and that kind of stuff was going to go into the public domain.
It was all done for Disney.
Walt Disney said, holy cow, we can't have this. Our mascot is going, so.
Oh, no, Goofy, we're going to be all screwed.
Right.
Yeah, and you can send a lawsuit to him for doing that voice illegally. Yeah. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back right after this. Hey, if you're looking for the perfect match, go to eharmony.com. Use the code EHCranky and you'll get 4 months for the price of 3. That's eharmony.com, the code EHCranky.
Looking for the leading edge in technology? Check out extremetech.com, the latest news in the tech world. Tips and tricks to tweak your rig.
Your system to make sure that you get the best overclocking experience.
Product reviews and lab testing. Ask questions or offer advice in the forums. Everything you need to keep up in tech. Build it, tweak it, know it. extremetech.com.
Welcome back to Cranky Geeks, and my apologies for the Extreme Tech ad. I get somebody complaining about the fact that they're not really. They still have a blog, so go check the blog out, extremetech.com. EU court rules 11-word snippets can violate copyright. This is a beaut. Amidst anger from Associated Press over internet users copying and sharing snippets, generally headlines, from its stories, Europe's highest court has whittled the line of potential copyright infringement down to just 11 little words. A Danish media monitoring firm called InfoPack has been copying and sending story snippets, and the High Court ruled that 11 copied words could constitute, forget fair use, could constitute a copyright violation.
How ridiculous is this? And if you
So in other words, if you quote
Twitter the words that are in someone's story in an effort to get people to go
Or just to
read
talk
that
about
story.
something else completely different.
Yeah.
You know, this is
The
a
Associated-
follow-on
the
of what we were just
Associated
talking
Press-
about.
Yeah,
It
you
was.
know?
It is.
The Associated Press in particular has been just going crazy over this, doing ridiculous things. I think someone should.
Well, I mean,
stand up
okay,
to
so
them.
let's be clear. The AP clearly has.
I'm sorry, you just violated the 11-word limit.
Yeah, those were my 11 words.
Let's be clear, that's an Obama term. You can't use it.
The AP has a legitimate beef with websites, bloggers that post verbatim their stories, and anyone who is a writer, I'm sure, John, there are tons of websites right now that have columns that you've written. They post them verbatim. That should not happen.
They
Okay.
actually used to have a guy at Ziff Davis whose job was to go around and legally police people who would put up John's entire column.
John has a guy like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that should
I
happen.
tell you
It's
a story
happening
about that in a
more
second.
and more. So the AP is, of course, probably sees this more than you or I ever do. But I mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah, well, and they're also giving their people that subscribe to the service complain a lot. So I had this column that was like, I was driving around on the net, and there's my column on somebody's website, complete, whoop, the whole thing. So I went to illegal. I said, "What is this guy? He's got the whole column." What galled me, by the way, didn't care that much, but there was no link back to the column.
Precisely. Yeah. And you see that all
which
the
is like,
time.
why don't you link back? I mean, does it cost you that much? The legal guy says, that's not worth the trouble.
Yeah.
Right, because it's some 16-year-old kid.
Yeah, basically.
There's not a lot they can do very easily except write a
But they
threatening-
can
write
if
a
it's a big
threatening letter.
commercial operation.
They can always send the ISP something, and they can, if they're in the U.S., they can send them a DMCA take
That's
on.
a big caveat, though. If they're in the U.S.
Well, that's true. That's
and then
true.
they're like, oh, it's one of those
Yeah.
hosts, and
Right. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it's tough.
but it's lawyers charged by the hundreds of dollars per hour, so it costs a lot to
maybe
to
if
take
your
this.
columns were worth more money, John.
It's possible. But generally speaking, actually, the thing that's the most protected are stuff that, and because this has been proven by a lot of case law, if you do an expensive newsletter, that's like one of those $500 to $1,200 a
Like
year
the
kind of thing.
stock picking ones.
Or any of those, and believe me, if somebody just steals a little bit of those, you will get sued and fined, and you will lose because basically the guy makes a living from this thing, and they have a lot of law that says, yeah, you're doing newsletters that cost, you can't just rip these guys off the floor. But stuff that's like in 5,000 exact same stories in 5,000
Right.
newspapers,
So
and
the
somebody
stock
takes.
picker guy is protected, but if you're a journalist who has taken a vow of poverty and you got
Right.
a column out there,
Exactly.
no protection for you.
I mean, but let's not forget that the AP is coming on really hard times. They're not making a lot of money as it is. They're getting killed by this internet thing. They're really struggling to stay relevant and stay
They
important.
can't.
They do something that nobody else does. They have people in all over.
Most of the stuff that
the
they run
world.
is done they take the story from a local paper, call the guys in because they're all part of a club, and then you steal the stuff from the local paper. They don't really get any money for that. They have to pay.
They have an agreement to do it, but they still vet the story, which is more than any of these people.
They
that are
don't vet
stealing
the story. They don't
Yeah,
vet
they
the
do.
story with a link back to the original place where it came from.
Well, when I was
They
at
don't-
the AP, we actually did say where we got it from.
You,
When
you say where you got it. You
Well,
don't
the
have a
byline
link
matters
back to the
there.
same.
Well, that's because you're sending it over a wire that doesn't have links.
Well, there you have it. It's old-fashioned.
Yeah, there you go.
So you liked your days with the AP?
The AP treated me pretty well.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good operation, but I think they've got it. They're between a rock and a hard place.
They're an important.
And they don't know what
yeah.
to do about it.
That's exactly right, and the world will be a poorer place if anything should happen.
This is actually the problem. It'd be great to find a way through this all because as you reduce, frankly, professional journalism coverage of world events, and you had to rely
Right. It ruins
on-
Google News.
No, it's not a matter of Google News or not.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
people can go to blogs, but then the blog quality, frankly, I don't think is as high, as the average AP reporter.
No, there's with blogs. There's something that's a gem that nobody gets. And
But
it's
there's
like,
so
wow.
much of it that if occasionally a gem is there, well, the gems are there, right?
There's a lot of gems,
So-
but they're all over the place, and it's not as easy to access.
But having trusted sources can be good for society. And what happens.
They have a problem. We don't know what they're going to do about it. But
I think
suing
11
people
words.
suing people left and right, and doing stupid stuff. The problem is that you draw attention to the stupidity of your
Yeah.
position by making things like this 11-word rule, which I am sure the AP had something to do with.
Probably.